Big news overnight that allegedly a big deal in a second stimulus package is coming next week. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me for morning's LALATE. Hope you're good and safe. Happy Saturday morning. The coffee is brewing, the sun is coming up, and I hope you are ready for an exciting, great weekend. But we have great news that you've been waiting for, and we delivered it last night, very late on evening's LALATE. More details surfaced overnight about an imminent alleged deal in the second stimulus package coming next week. Wow. This is the news that you have been waiting for and I have been waiting for. And it's coming from two different sources and explains what's gone on the last couple of weeks. Let me get right to it. A new report published late yesterday by Associated Press now indicates that a deal is highly likely in a second stimulus package early next week or late next week. And it comes as the White House apparently has digressed or separated forces from leaders in the Senate. Apparently, Donald Trump wants a deal, and that certain congressional leaders were not on board. And so Donald Trump apparently has taken it upon his own initiative to get the deal done. Let me go over where we are, and let me recap all the different elements. I'll be going through the check, especially if you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security benefits, then to hazard pay, next FPUC, and finally a rent eviction moratorium. First, new details overnight from Associated Press, later confirmed by another news outlet, that the president has reached out to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer through his representatives to get a deal done, and that the deal will be formulated next week. Now, a lot of you might be confused about really what's been going on, and I had sensed this was what was happening, but I wasn't sure. So let me explain to you the details. The president, and I'm going to go over only the president's words initially. The president over the last 2 weeks has consistently said the same thing from his mouth. He has said he wants a stimulus check for every American citizen. He has said he wants all dependents and non-dependents to get a second stimulus check. He said he wants the stimulus check to be more than $1,200. He has said then, as to FPUC, that he wants all Americans to get their full unemployment benefits. He wants Americans to be paid for their unemployment benefits, that they are hardworking Americans and they deserve to get those unemployment benefits. And finally, about rent assistance eviction moratoriums, he said that no person should be thrown on the street during the pandemic. He wants rent eviction moratoriums. He wants mortgage forbearances. He doesn't want anyone to lose their home or apartment building due to the pandemic. His statements have been absolutely clear and consistent over the last 2 weeks. He repeated them yesterday, which I'll get to in a second. He repeated them midweek, and he repeated them 2 weeks ago. And every single time they were the same statement. Viewers and myself were thrown off, however, as other people were saying different things. And eventually last Monday, the HEALS Act, which was introduced into the Senate, written by certain Republicans, did not match what the president was saying. The HEALS Act was contradictory to what the president was saying across the board, and we didn't understand what was going on. First, the HEALS Act proposed only $500 for dependents, not a full stimulus check, a watered-down stimulus check. Second, it didn't mention hazard pay. Third, it didn't like FPUC. It said, you know what, we're going to give $200 a week for FPUC, and then after 4 weeks of the month of August, we will literally drop it to zero if states can't figure out how to do the calculation. We are not going to give full benefits. We're not even going to give 70% benefits. We don't like unemployment benefits, was the mantra of the bill. Finally, no eviction moratorium. It said, hey, you can't make rent during the pandemic, go on the street, become homeless. Who cares about you? It was so strange. And you and I were sitting here, and ultimately, this channel says things clear and concise. And the bill was a crap bill. It literally was a crap bill. This is not a partisan channel. I don't care who you are, Republicans or Democrats. It was a crap bill. To tell people they're going to be thrown on the streets, it didn't make sense. But what was interesting was it was conflicting with what the president was saying. And then this. Late yesterday, in a bombshell that this channel reported on Evenings LALATE, it now indicated that the president was never behind the stimulus package as introduced in the Senate by Senate Republicans. He did not like what was in it. He did not agree to the provisions, and he wanted to separately make the deal. Now, some of the viewers have been a little bit confused, and let me explain to you. Normally, a bill is introduced into Congress, and congressmen negotiate over the bill, not the president. Ultimately, the bill has to pass both the Senate and the House, and then goes to the president's table to be signed. If he doesn't like it, he vetoes it. This time around, it's a little bit different, and I'll tell you why, and that's the bombshell story overnight. Mitch McConnell apparently has been throwing Donald Trump under the bus in the last 7 days. And viewers and I weren't aware of it. And that is why the stimulus check debate is changing so dramatically. So let me tell you where we're going, and then I'll go to the optics and explain to you what the backstory is on this, because this is really, it's better than a Roman novel. The front story is that next week, according to the report, there will be a stimulus package. The stimulus package will ostensibly mirror what the Democrats introduced to the House in May, passed in the House, and are now in the Senate with. The bill will likely become law and will likely include all the provisions that this channel has been reporting to you that you have been waiting for anxiously, patiently, for weeks. It will likely, and this is what the report says, it will likely include $1,200 check for adults and dependents. Doesn't matter if you're a minor dependent, doesn't mean if you're an adult dependent. $1,200 check will come to everyone on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits. It will come to 16-year-olds, it will come to 19-year-olds. There will still be ostensibly a cap on certain things. That cap is if you made over $87,000 approximately 2019 earnings, individual. Husband and wife, joint filers, we double that. You'll still get a check, but it'll be a little bit less. And then it appears that there's still going to be the 3 dependent rule, that there will be only up to 3 dependents per tax return allowed to get stimulus checks. So husband, wife, 3 kids. If there's a 4th kid, you're going to have to fight over that 4th check, that 3rd check. That's really great news. The issue of multiple checks still on the table, but not for this round. Not going to happen this month. When would you get the stimulus funds? You would get them in mid-August if everything is on track that this gets passed next week. You would get the funds mid-August. You would receive them by the manner in which you receive your benefits. You receive your benefits by direct deposit or ACH, debit card, anything electronic. That's how you would receive it mid-August. If you receive them by paper check, they would come by paper check late August. If you don't receive benefits, anything the IRS has on record for you for direct deposits or for paying bills to the IRS, that's how it would come electronically, otherwise by paper. Really great news. You're getting your check and it's coming to you, and there's no more of this hogwash or writing bills with crayons, as I said yesterday. Next, hazard pay. All indications now suggest that you're going to get hazard pay. There has always been a hazard pay in the Democrat bill. There has never been a hazard pay in the Republican bill. The president, by his own history, has always supported essential workers and is still touting essential workers' support for his reelections. His mantra, his campaign promises are funding police, helping public servants, helping civil servants, helping the Rust Belt states, helping construction workers, helping unionized labor. That is his mantra. And it has never been his mantra to throw you on the street and not give you a penny and think that you are not viable or should not be rewarded for your service during the pandemic. So it was very strange that the HEALS Act on Monday didn't include that. If you didn't see overnight, I reported to you in afternoons LALATE that Bernie Sanders and a lot of people were just besides themselves, as I was, that this administration, which had appeared to be the author of the bill, I'll get to that in a second, they're not, seemed to, on one breath, really champion the hardworking American labor force, and yet in a time of need, there was no help for hazard pay. It didn't seem consistent. So hazard pay seems likely to survive. Next, FPUC, $600 a week. There's always a chance that it could drop to $400 or $500, but $200 is not happening. 70% that crapola, or as I call crap bill, whose only supporter is House Representative CRAPO. That's his real name. No one really supports $200 a week. The numbers are very, very clear. President Trump sees the numbers. I see the numbers. Joe Biden sees the numbers. You see the numbers. Swing states don't support $200 a week. Battleground states for the fall election don't support $200 a week. In fact, no state, whether Republican or Democrat, supports $200 a week. The polls are absolutely overwhelming. It was a bill designed for no one but big business. It doesn't make any economic sense. Economists don't support it. Economists will trash it all the way to the bank. And if you go with $200 a week, they're basically saying if the economy stalls, it was your fault because you chose the wrong number. So $600 a week appears to be where we're going. In fact, last Thursday evening, President Trump actually had tweeted he was in support of $600 a week, and they wanted to do it on a temporary fix. That's a little bit of optics. I'll get to that in a second. Basically, he is wanting $600 a week to January 2021, is what the report indicates. Finally, rent eviction moratoriums. This was just the hot mess express landing on Pennsylvania Avenue and honking its horn. The president, who made his money, his entire early part of his career on rent, on landlord-tenant issues, suddenly was in favor of evicting half of the country and 50% of American public becoming homeless. It didn't sound right. And he never said he wanted to have half of his constituents become homeless overnight. He never said that. But when the HEALS Act debuted last Monday, there was no eviction moratorium in there, and we were just wondering what's going on. In fact, Larry Kudlow and Steve Mnuchin the day before said the president wants an eviction moratorium. Well, by midweek, the president said, I want an eviction moratorium, and I'm going to give you an eviction moratorium, and, mortgage forbearance and all those other things. Later in the week, he said it as well. That's going to survive as well. So really great news. How likely will this happen, and what are the chances of things being derailed? Ultimately, what I want to inform you about is the following. Sunday morning is just 24 hours a day. And it is commonplace that Republicans run their mouths on Sunday morning news, whether it's Fox Morning or it's Face the Nation. And I fully expect, and I'm warning you right now, so here's the warning to the 12-minute mark. I fully warn you that there's going to be someone on those morning talk shows, both Republicans and Democrats, who say, there's no deal, and we are very far apart, and it's not likely to happen. Don't buy it. It's just a lot of chatter. So let me tell you what the backstory is. So this backstory is just incredible. The backstory allegedly is the following. That the bill as introduced to the Senate was drafted by parties that were not aligned with the president. And it sounds consistent with what's happening. Moreover, apparently in the last 5 days, Mitch McConnell allegedly has been going to Senate Republicans and telling them not to align themselves with the president on social and political and economic issues and defend for themselves because he expects a torching in the fall. And the president apparently has gotten wind of this and is certainly not pleased. And the president is especially conscious of people who are not faithful to him. And this apparently is par for the course of what happened last week. If you recall, because you've been with me, if you've not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and follow me, like and share. Last Friday, a week ago, Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump, fully admitted there was a full-on disagreement between him and Mitch McConnell about what would be in the Republican stimulus package. The two had admitted that for 3 weeks they could not come to an agreement of what was in it, and they were both drafting it. Finally, Broadcast News basically asked Steve, what's going on? How much of a bickering is it? It sounds like it's a full-on brawl. He said, well, it's a little bit over-embellished. but he basically admitted there was a huge disagreement. Mitch McConnell went home to Kentucky over that weekend. Steve Mnuchin went to the Capitol and talked to Republicans. Apparently, when Mitch McConnell came back into town, he was not a happy camper. He was not happy that Steve Mnuchin was talking one way and Mitch was talking another way. In fact, Mitch McConnell left town on Friday and said the deal would be done in about 2 to 3 weeks. As soon as Mitch got on that plane, Steve Mnuchin said, the deal is done now. We're going to get this done within 3 days. You see the inconsistencies? Well, come Monday morning, guess what landed in the Senate? A bill, the HEALS Act. And at that time, we fully thought that the HEALS Act was drafted by Steve Mnuchin and was backed by the White House. Ultimately, what happened was the White House wanted nothing to do with Mitch McConnell on the bill. The White House had Mark Meadows, who's chief of staff, and Steve Mnuchin negotiate with Nancy and Chuck Schumer. They were the 4 people in the room day after day negotiating with nowhere in sight Mitch McConnell and his CRAPO bill supported by Representative CRAPO. The unemployment insurance is a principal element as talks continue, but the White House and its GOP allies appear to have been retreating from their opposition, basically that the people who wrote the bill don't support it. If it was not even more clear, it became clear on Friday when leading Republicans, Marco Rubio, Mitt Romney, and 4 others introduced their stimulus package because they didn't like the HEALS Act. It was just like, okay, no one likes this HEALS Act. Republicans don't like it. Other Republicans don't like it. Republicans in states don't like it. No one supports this bill. And the only one who was supporting was, guess who? Mitch McConnell. It always comes back to Mitch, these problems. You ever notice that? Basically what happened thereafter was that Mark Meadows, basically told us what happened was that he was left to fend and negotiate with Nancy Pelosi, which I really can't say with a straight face. Mark Meadows is described by AP, which Associated Press doesn't usually, use these words. They call him an unsophisticated negotiator or a novice, which is just, that's like Real Housewives shade written by AP. I've never seen anything like that type of language. And they said basically Nancy Pelosi ate him up alive. But so where we are at now is that the White House, which ostensibly wanted these things, the White House is not stupid. You can't have 50% of the American public homeless and expect to get reelected. You can't cut people's unemployment benefits and expect them to vote for you. You can't not give people stimulus checks and say, hey, vote for me. The president who got a 3% jump in the polls in May for putting his name on a stimulus check knows the benefits of giving Americans money, especially in a time of need. It shows that he knows what he's doing, and it shows that he knows he cares. Whether or not you agree with that, that's the perception he's going after. With that, what's going to happen over the next few hours and days is the president is going to follow this path. He's going to say, I wanted a deal, but Nancy and Chuck wouldn't give it to me. I wanted eviction moratorium, but Nancy and Chuck are delaying and won't give it to you. I wanted to give you stimulus more than Nancy and Chuck, but they're delaying it. I wanted to give you more unemployment benefits, but Nancy and Chuck aren't helping you. If you see what's going on here, it's very clear. He basically wants to give you exactly what the Democrats want to have, but he wants it to appear for purposes of optics, for purposes of popularity, for purposes of voter polling, to suggest that he's doing more for you than the Democrats, when in fact they're basically doing the same. The bottom line is that Mitch McConnell is really out the door. He's been out the door for 6 months. There's, some of the comments were really quite wonderful overnight that people said that, thank you for always keeping the news straight and clear, never really trying to, bash one side or the other. I've never said the president lied. And it is clear now that the president who did not introduce the bill because he's not in the Congress, was not behind this bill. He didn't like the bill and understood that this is political suicide. I mean, I had said this for 2 weeks. It's political suicide not to support eviction moratorium and unemployment and hazard pay and stimulus checks. I mean, you have to do these things. You absolutely have to do them. If you don't do them, it looks like you are just out to lunch. And he really never said he was against them. He always said he was in favor of them. Ultimately, it came back to one bad character, and we know who that bad character is. He's not going to be back in the Senate. He's not going to maintain his position in the Senate. And ultimately, the great news for you as you start the Saturday morning is you're here with me. I'm here with you. We have great news. We have positive information. We have something to go forward with on the weekend to really feel, excited and energized. And I want you to certainly turn off or turn down the volume on anything you're going to see on Sunday morning news tomorrow, because it's going to be a hot mess. I just expect it to be a hot mess. Turn on some, MLB or some golf and just enjoy that. As always, join me later today with Afternoons LALATE. Our programming block is 2 hours long. It starts at about 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 4 shows. The first one is The Check. The second one is Hazard Pay. The third one is FPUC. And the fourth one is Rent Eviction. That's every day, 2:30 to starting at 2:30, a 2-hour programming block, a new video every 30 minutes. And then finally, evenings, LALATE, 2 shows per night. They're both also 30 minutes, a 1-hour programming block. First, The Check, your questions answered. And lately, that's been like the bombshell video, and something always erupts at about 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And finally, EIDL. Have a great Saturday morning with me, with your families, and join me later today.